Hello, and welcome to season 2 of the Better Not Perfect podcast. Welcome or welcome back. If this is your first time, we're so happy that you joined us. And if you've joined us for previous episodes or in season 1, we're just happy to have you back. My name is Dr. Shai Butler, and I'm the author of Better Not Perfect: From Hot Mess to Life Success, a woman's guide to learning, loving, and being herself unapologetically. And we spent some time together in season 1, getting to know me and a little bit more about the book. And now here we are in season 2, where I'm so happy that I'm bringing in special guests, remarkable women who have had an impact on my journey to better. These women have guided me or supported me and mentored me through some of life's seasons. And I invited them to join me because I felt that you would definitely get something from their wisdom, their advice, and their experience. So joining me today in the studio is Yolanda Caldwell. She is an executive coach. She's an expert in women's leadership. And she and her husband, who I've had the wonderful opportunity to meet, do couples coaching. And Yolanda, we are so happy to have you. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for being here. And thank you for all you've done on my journey to better.
Oh, Shay, thank you for inviting me. Dr. Shay, it is really a privilege to sit here with you and to see where you are and to be a part of the podcast. I cannot wait to have this conversation.
Yeah. We might act up a little. So, spoiler alert, if we act up a little, it's okay. Because this is what the better audience is about. We're about realness. We're about authenticity. We're about real talk. And I'm so glad that you are here. So let's kick off. Tell me, when you think about better, not perfect, what does that mean to you in a very real and personal way?
I think when you hear the words better, not perfect, it means to be authentic. It means that everything is not always, I think the saying is coming up roses, but that means you still have a garden. It means that it's almost like when you're baking that cake, it's during that stage where everything is out and it's a little messy. You know what's coming,
Yeah.
but you got to go through the process before you get to benefit of the cake. And then you put all of this work in and you bake your cake. And guess what? It's a little lopsided. It's not perfect, but it's still better than it was when you were making it, when all of the ingredients were separate and not together. So when I think of better, not perfect, I really think of the process of going through and really learning to appreciate the journey. A lot of times we focus so much on the outcome.
Right.
And we don't enjoy the journey. We don't enjoy the view. We don't enjoy the experience. And I think anyone who's read your book understands the journey.
Wow. And they also understand that messy cake, I think, The one thing about the process that we certainly don't enjoy is the time factor. It takes time for the cake to be done, using your analogy. And without the time, it doesn't taste as good.
It doesn't.
Because it's not a finished product. And unlike cake, we are ever evolving. We are never finished. But, through life, we have the opportunity and chance to be better, right? So, I'm thinking about something you said in relation to where I was in chapter 1.
Okay.
I had moved past the raw materials, the raw ingredients, where you have your flour on one side, your sugar on another. So my mix, chapter 1 is called A Hot Mess, everyone. And I really was a hot mess. It catches me at age 28 and a half. I had a lot going on. I was really on a professional journey that was pretty much successful. Professionally, I had it going on. I was a good mom. I had earned a couple of degrees by that time. I wasn't Dr. Shai yet, but I was well on my way. But the one thing that I felt I lacked was love and marriage. And I call that season of my life messy because I really was messy. I was messy on the inside. And I was having a tantrum because of the time factor. I was coming up on 30. And in my mind, there was I don't know, something magical was going to happen at 30. And I was either on this side of the altar, the wedding altar, or the other side of the wedding altar, forever the bridesmaid. And I was stressing. And so in my stress, I was acting out. So I had moved past the raw ingredients, you know, or the degree had come together, parenting had come together. But so, Yolanda, tell me, you work with women of all ages as you coach, some women who may still be in single status, some women in married status, and you also coach people on that journey to marriage. What advice do you have for someone like where you met me in chapter 1?
When we talk about, again, based on the book, Better Not Perfect, is understand that we all go through it. You're not alone. Sometimes when we're going through those difficult stages in our lives, we think it's us. No one else could even imagine what we're going through. And the reality is we've all done it. We've all gone through those stages where things just weren't adding up. On the outside, it might look really good, but on the inside, we were really wondering, how in the world am I going to get out of this? And whatever your this is, understand that looking for support and being patient with yourself and giving yourself grace will help you get through it. I can think of a time in my life when things were messy and I really didn't have the advice that I'm sharing. And I thought that it was never going to be over, that this was just how I was. And I am so grateful that someone did step in and have a conversation with me, my godmother, and she really helped me understand that it was a part of the process. It was a part of the process. And through that, I grew. And I hope anyone understands that in your messy stage is also your growth stage.
That's powerful. Say that again. Say it again. Right at the camera. Say it again.
Your messy stage is your growth stage.
Amen. That is so, so true. And in that stage, you know, there was not, you said something that really just stuck with me, you know, that you wish you had the advice that you were giving today. I'm paraphrasing. I too wished that I had someone who could speak into me at that time. And I have learned in my better moments as I've gotten older and grown that sometimes it's better to have someone who's experienced something that you want.
Yes.
So I also coach C-suite executives, and the people that are coming to me, C-suite aspirants, are coming to me because I've been there. But if you take that and you look at relationships, love and marriage, I have heard from single women that they don't like to talk to married women about love and relationships because sometimes they feel that there's an indictment because they're not, and they don't want to be made to feel as if they are lesser than. So they have some misconceived and misperceptions about how certain married women, not every woman, would respond to them. I love to support young women who come to me, and women of any age who come to me and who have the courage to say, you know, Dr. Shai, I don't really maybe know your marriage, you know, and I only know you from the book and the podcast, but it seems like you might have a good marriage. How do I get that? And that takes courage.
Yes.
It's easier about our careers to say, how do I get that vice presidency?
Yes.
But sometimes it's more difficult. And the women, at least the women I hung out with when I was single, they really weren't the women who could tell me what it took to be married. They couldn't. Even if they were
Yes.
divorced, they really couldn't tell me what it was like to be a first timer looking for this
Okay.
experience. Have you seen any of that, or how would you encourage women to maybe find the courage to have these conversations?
Um, I spent a lot of time with young women between the ages of 20 and 29.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very interesting to have conversations with them about marriage
Mm-hmm.
because they are balancing independence
Mm-hmm.
and interdependence.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I mean by that is they want to be in relationships, yet they want to be independent.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that? How do you open yourself up to love and the dependency that is needed or the interdependency that is needed for a marriage to be successful, yet still stand on your own 2 feet?
How? Because because listen, we're almost 20 years in, and then, I don't know. Do you mind saying about how far in you're into this marriage journey?
31 years.
Whoa. Okay, so look, I bow, and this isn't just, I think, applied to marriage. This is applied to relationships because you
Yes.
have to start with the relationship
Yes.
before it grows into the phase and stage of marriage. But that is powerful. This need for independence, and for relationship, the necessity of interdependence
Yes.
for it to be successful.
Yes. And I want everyone to notice that I'm very intentional when I use the word interdependent because there is this thought that there's a dependence.
A codependent.
A codependence. And I believe that a successful marriage has interdependence, that each partner is coming as an independent, self-sufficient individual that recognizes that the two of them together are greater than they are apart. So they have this interdependence. They have this give and take relationship in which they're willing to share of themselves. And they're also open to receiving. Sometimes when we're independent, we're not open to receiving. We view that as being vulnerable.
Yes. Yep. Especially in this day and age where it's scary to be vulnerable. It's scary to share and open up because you don't know what might happen. You might get hurt. Oh no, And that's a real fear. I know I certainly have had that fear. Sometimes about other things, still have that fear.
I would encourage anyone to walk into any relationship understanding that you will get hurt. So when my husband and I coach, we make it very clear that you will not go through this relationship unscathed. For you to receive and reap the rewards of the marriage, there is a uncovering that you need to go through. And it's not going to happen overnight. As I mentioned, my husband and I have been married 31 years and we still are uncovering. And the reason we're still uncovering is because we're still growing. And as we come into the realization of why we behave the way that we do, because of something that's happened before, because it's a protection, because we've gotten new information and now we have a new desire or a new goal. It takes a level of vulnerability to share with your spouse that you want to do something new. So when we talk about being hurt, it's not always the hurt in which someone is doing something intentionally to hurt you. Sometimes the hurt can come from you getting excited about something new and sharing that and maybe not getting the response that you expected. Yet, you still have to be vulnerable.
Yeah. Right. And not close up and say, well, that's the last time I share my dreams with you.
Exactly.
Which sometimes that's the defense mechanism.
Yes.
Especially in those early years of marriage.
Yes.
And I'm telling on myself now because that certainly was me. If I didn't get the response I needed, or sometimes this was our thing, what he said and what I heard.
Oh, yes.
Sometimes there was no congruency there. And
yes.
And those things, what I heard was based on my past trauma, my past experiences with men and relationships, going back to my father, not just dating relationships, but familial relationships and relationships with men at work. All of these things feed into what I heard, which might be something totally different from what he said.
Yes.
So how do you...
And from what he meant.
Oh, wow. You just added a third component on there. And the thing is, with what he meant, I will sit in my head for hours trying to figure out what he meant. And he could be sitting right next to me. We could be on a drive 3 hours someplace. And I'm trying to process what he meant and I've gotten better at this, learning just how to turn over and say, what do you mean by that? Because this is what I heard from what you said.
Yes.
But I need you to tell me what you meant.
Yes. And also, I love the way that you said that. What did you mean? I also encourage people to find other ways to ask that same question. Because sometimes for them, that could bring up a defense or a reaction. So I'm really curious, when you said that, what would you like me to take away from that? Or how can we move forward if you're thinking this and I'm thinking this? What's a way that we can come together? So thinking about what your goal is in the conversation. Are you looking for validation? Are you looking for, what are you looking for? And that can feed into how you ask the question and how you move the conversation forward.
And see, that's why she's the coach and I'm the patient or the client. Because, what you mean by that? I can see the walls coming right up, but asking it in the way you just gave us as an example, absolutely. See,
it can, but that goes to better, not perfect.
Right.
I will share. I don't know if anyone will ever reach perfect communication, but you can always improve and have better communication.
Now, we talked about what informs. And when I think about where I was in chapter 1 and I talk about what was going on inside of me, I had no peace. I was in a space of negativity. I was putting out negativity and wondering why all I was getting back was negativity. And wondering why no one would really want to date me seriously. And so my epiphany, my moment came, and I talk about it in the book, and I'm not going to, you got to buy the book if you want to know. But one of the things that I learned was until I got comfortable learning myself so I could eventually love myself, then I could show up authentically and be myself unapologetically. And then that person would then have an opportunity to see who I really was. And that was something I was struggling with 20 through 29, the women, the age group you work with that you mentioned. I certainly remember, I don't want to go back there, I wanted to be independent. I wanted to prove to the world that I got this. And I really didn't want to show that I was afraid most of the time. And I really didn't got this, not all of it, So that work that we have to do to be able to come in to relationships and marriage as a whole person. There's this song I love by Teddy Pendergrass, and there's a line where he goes at the end of it. He's talking about love and relationships, and he says not 70-30, not 80-20. I'm talking about a 50-50 love. And I don't think that I love Teddy, but I don't think he had it right there, because I feel, and you can let me know, you're the expert, I need to bring 100 every day, and he needs to bring 100 to this, and maybe not every day, because I can't be 100 every day, and he can't be 100 every day, but whatever my best is that day,
Yes.
and just try to show up and be that person.
Yeah. I think you're on the right track. It is not a 50-50 love. It is 100-100 love, meaning that you need to bring 100% of yourself. And 100% of yourself looks like, I'm having a bad day.
Wow.
100% of yourself is saying, I can't carry this. Can you pick this up for me? 100% of yourself is saying, can I lean on you? And many times we don't understand that being open and transparent helps us demonstrate that we're independent. When we open up and share, it shows that I'm willing to take the risk that even if you walk away, I can still stand.
Wow. But help me understand that. Because we're talking about how to have successful relationships, but having that feeling or that understanding of myself helps me have successful relationships and marriage?
Yes.
Say more about that.
If I'm willing to be so vulnerable with you that you may leave me, I'm giving you everything.
Wow.
What happens when we hold things back is because we're afraid the person is going to leave. So I'm not going to show you everything. I'm going to keep some of my flaws hidden with the goal of that you're going to love what you see. But you're not really loving me. Because loving me means you're going to have to accept that I'm not perfect.
Right. I love that. I love that. And I'm going to need you to say that again the best way you can.
Showing up in your relationships to be successful means showing all of yourself 100% and being willing to be vulnerable enough that your partner may leave.
Meaning if I show him what I really am, what I really feel, what my dreams are, and maybe they don't align with where he is or what his dreams are, and what if he leaves?
Then that's not the person for you. And a lot of times we're willing to take someone, not the one.
Yes. I love that.
And you also it's very, for me, and my husband knows this, in my mind, at one particular point in time when we partnered up, I was an extrovert. And I had, these dreams of, throwing all of these great events and all of this. And my husband is an introvert. And we had to navigate my desire to be social and his desire to be private.
So, but it wasn't a deal breaker for you in your relationship, was it?
No. It could have been. It could have been if I wasn't transparent. If I wasn't willing to say, this is what I need. If I was like, if I really, really let him know, like really, really what I want, he may leave, then he wasn't really getting me.
Right. And then you would have been trying to play the role of an introvert.
Exactly.
And it really wasn't authentically who you were.
Exactly.
And then now you live a life where you're unsatisfied, not fulfilled. And then these are the things that we all know start to dissolve relationships and start to dissolve marriages when we talk about these feelings of unfulfillment.
Or
Now,
disrespect, feeling disrespected. Like,
oof.
you don't respect who I am. How we navigated that is we negotiated the calendar. We had birthday parties for our children. That was a social event. We agreed because I really enjoy couples events. So the Friday after Thanksgiving, every year we threw a couples party. And we had one outdoor gathering at our home in the summer. So that was our agreement. And if something else came up, we had a conversation about it.
Okay.
So if something came up, like I would never forget, one year was a really big fight. So we invited everyone over for the fight, and
Not you two. You weren't fighting.
No.
She said it was a really big fight. I was like, oh, okay, we about to really get real up in here. We talking about the big fight? No, but who was it? Holyfield and
I can't remember. It was tight. It was one when Tyson knocked somebody out in the first round, like less than 1 minute in. But then we spent the rest of the night having a good time. But what I mean is, you have to be open and sharing and being willing to negotiate.
Yeah. I get that. I definitely get that. And that has been a process.
Yes.
And part of that process was getting to the point where I began to work on myself and work on growing as a person, learning who I was. I said in season 1, if you would have asked me back during that time, what's my favorite color? I really wouldn't even been able to tell you. I probably would have gone to my closet, to my drawers, and said, well, there's a lot of purple in there, so it must be purple. And I would have been very embarrassed about the fact that I didn't. But it's because I just wasn't taking the time to really get to know who I was, to be able to say, well, am I extrovert or an introvert? And these are things that you should know. Now, one of the things that I've kind of run into lately when I talk with couples is that they're not getting premarital counseling. Now, I mean, back in the days when people would have religious ceremonies, as opposed to civic ceremonies, that it was sort of almost a mandate that you get premarital counseling. But now people are opting to take this big leap and make this huge decision without at least putting down some of the parameters of how you will communicate, how you will problem solve, how you will deal with major issues that we know lead to divorce, like finances, and having those conversations before marriage. I don't know. I mean, I had a couple tell me once that that they opted to do a prenup. And because the questions that came out in the prenup were as such that they talked about these important issues, they felt that they had it covered and they didn't need to get premarital counseling. And my response was, well, that's planning for the divorce. That's not planning for the marriage. So what do you think? I mean, would you advise, not just because you're a coach, but would you advise couples, and what is the benefit?
I think the benefit of having a conversation with individuals who are trained in supporting marriages is that you get some tools to help navigate the waters of marriage. I don't think anyone ever I take that back. I was going to say ever just picked up and said, I'm going with no kind of roadmap. But yes, people do that. And they are the adventurous ones. But I do believe that the coaching that my husband and I provide gives individuals an opportunity to do some self-examination. Our first session with couples really is about them as individuals. And our second conversation is about them as a couple.
Okay.
And part of it is understanding that you have to be able to know who you are. And know some of the things about your family that you're bringing to the relationship. You're merging two families. And in this day and age, you may be merging more than two families, because if you're a child of divorce, then, and if your parents remarried, then there are multiple
Right.
family dynamics that
Right.
are coming into play.
Right.
So understanding how to navigate that and understanding what your voice is,
Yeah.
really being able to separate family tradition from what it is that you're trying to build.
Mm.
And sometimes individuals can't see that.
Right.
They think that they have to bring all of that with them, and you don't. But having the time to have that conversation is very important.
Right.
So I believe that what you get out of coaching is some tools, some understanding, some awareness, and possibly even some solutions.
Yeah. And I would say even some hope. If you really have a good counselor, they don't leave you wondering, did I make the right decision? They leave you feeling that there's hope.
I agree. One of the things we do say to couples often is that you actually get married 3 times. Yeah. You make that commitment 3 times.
Okay.
So you make the commitment the first time when you decide that, you know what, this may be my person. So that's the first commitment. That's when you start deleting phone numbers, stop, talking to other people, and you really invest
You get
all
off
of your
Match.com.
exactly,
Yeah.
really, really invest in this relationship. So that's kind of like that internal. Okay, yes, I'm gonna make this commitment, and then you make that public commitment at the ceremony.
Okay.
And many, depending on what type of ceremony you have, you will say, until death do us part. And, there are campaigns that says divorce is not an option. However, if people are really, really honest with themselves, there is still that one thing. There is that one thing, that deal breaker.
Yes.
That person can do that will make you walk out of the door.
Yes. Yes. And wow, that's powerful.
So it's not until you really commit to say, it doesn't matter what happens, we're going to stay together. So you have to make that commitment 3 times.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for that. That is a lot of food for thought. And, as we wind down, I really just want to say thank you. I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate the lessons. Yolanda is certainly someone that I've gone to from time to time when I've needed advice about relationships, about marriage, and I'm in a pickle. And I will tell you, when you know a person is real with you and it's a real relationship, they won't always tell you what you want to hear. Sometimes she would say, "No, you were wrong." And why'd you say that? And what'd you do that for?
Did I really say that?
Yeah, yes, you have. Yes, you have. But that's who you want in your life. You want, if this is really about you showing up authentically, part of that means surrounding yourself with real, authentic friendships. People who know you, who care about you, and care about your relationship. Because sometimes people will care about you, but not about your relationship, because they get more of you when you're not in relationship. So holla if you hear me on that. You may have that hater girlfriend who, when you all were hanging out and clubbing together, was all good. And then you met boo, and, you're spending a lot more time in relationships. That sometimes, you have that. That doesn't mean that friend doesn't love you. It just means that she needs to work through that and then recommit to the friendship, understanding that there's you in relationship, you in interdependence with this new partner. So that is a wrap up for today's episode. We are so glad that you joined us again. Yolanda, you were just really a blessing to my heart, as you always are, and I'm glad I had a chance to share you with the Better Not Perfect audience, and give some snaps at home for Yolanda. Not if you're driving, don't snap if you're driving, and we just really I want to tell you how to hear this episode or how to hear more of these episodes. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Linktree under Better Not Perfect, YouTube under Better Not Perfect, and Apple Podcasts under Better Not Perfect. And that's better dot not perfect. And if you can't find any of those things, go to my website, www.drshaibutler.com. That's www.drshaibutler.com. And I will lead you to all of those places. Thanks for joining us this week, and we'll see you next week with another episode. Till then, have a better day.